Woohoo!
Woohoo! Here we are.
On time, 2 weeks in a row.
We're early. We're early, folks.
Or is it 3 weeks in a row?
I think it's 3 weeks in a row. And next week I know we'll be on time too. So I can just predict it.
Yeah, I mean, last week was a little bit of it was kind of a shoe-in when we could pre-schedule it. I mean, we did pre-record last week, for the record, everybody. We're not trying to pull a fast one on you. Are you with us still, Kellen?
Yes.
What you clicking on?
I was trying to get back to the screen. I'm like, welcome to the Right Spotlight. I am your co-host, Kellen and this is
Brian Monahan.
And this is a show where we interview authors and learn all their tips, their tricks, their regrets, and to help you as a new aspiring author get your book published as well. And that's basically what Brian does. He is the get you to the finish line guy. This is his book. He's got street cred.
Well, of course you do too. Wagmore. This is her Kellen Ann's book. Wonderful book. And besides her, what do you call a group of pugs?
A grumble.
A grumble. Yeah, they're famous now too.
Yeah, they are. They actually are. We get stopped on the street when I'm with Max. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's cute, but I always like to say it's because they know him from the book.
Absolutely.
So we're excited you're here. Please let us know if you're watching where you're watching from. Make a comment. If you have questions, put them in the comments bar. If we're not live and you're watching this on the replay, we will get you an answer, find you an answer. We're excited to help other authors. That's what we're here for.
Love it. Yeah. And, we also can help you choose your hat for your podcast.
Yes. Today's hat day.
So, I mean, we were inspired by our guest today. So,
today is the continuation of our British invasion, all those wonderful people that I met through Team 17 and Michael Heppel. So today's book, we're going to teach you a couple different things. I consider it a coffee table book, don't you, Brian? It's
I think so.
Beautiful pictorial coffee table book. And we're also going to learn a little bit about crowdfunding, which is an optional way to publish a book. So my friend Richard Thomas, this is his book. It's called End of the Line. And today we're also going to talk about his second book that came out. He is one of my dear, dear friends from across the pond. And I don't even want to wait any longer. We should get him here right now.
Let's go ahead and bring him on board.
And there he is. Hey. Richard, thank you so much.
As you mentioned, my second book, here it is.
Look at how beautiful these books are. It's just...
So there's the pair of coffee table bookends.
Yes.
So are you delivering these to all the children throughout the world on Christmas Eve, or?
Yeah, I'll be wearing my hat.
Yes.
All right. Or are you doing it by train though, right?
Yeah, you'll be delivering by train.
Well, special delivery.
Special delivery.
Yes.
I have so many questions. I always say that. It's true though. Once I revisit the book and things like that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask them this, I'm going to ask that. What is the inspiration that started the first book? What made you create this piece of art, this beautiful piece of art?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to talk about me and my book, but just to share with you guys as well. Inspiration. I retired 5 years ago from mundane stuff that I no longer enjoyed doing. And I started to think about, what am I going to do? I can't not do something. And my passion from when I was a teenager, long before I was a teenager, was photography. I just used to love carrying my camera, wandering around my hometown, just taking pictures. And in the last few years of my work life, I worked in London for 25, 30 years. Mm-hmm. I used to take my camera around London, lunchtime. And as the years wore on and I started to lose interest in work, I should say that quietly in case my bosses are listening. I don't care. I really don't care. I would take a long lunch and I would just start exploring. And I would take pictures. And if I rewind when I first moved to London back in 1990, that's where the story of London really started for me. there was a charity walk around London, sponsored by Cadbury's. It was called Cadbury's Strollathon. It was a 10-mile walk around London on a Sunday morning. It would take you around parts of London that you wouldn't normally get to see because it was quieter. So you'd go through the heart of the city and you would walk through, induced by free chocolate, of course. There's me dragging my 2 young children along. And you'd see architecture, you see buildings, you'd meet people, things that you wouldn't normally get to see. And this I guess, fueled a hunger to enjoy things that you wouldn't normally see. So I'd commuted for 30 years, 35 years, reignited my passion for photography, wanted to explore London, retired, packaged them all into one. And really the story ignited on my retirement due. Somebody asked me, what am I going to do? And I thought, I like commuting. Strangely enough, I liked commuting. I enjoyed the traveling. I enjoyed the buzz of going from somewhere. Photography was definitely something I was going to do. And when I was a child, I used to enjoy going to the library and picking up books like this. And I would flick through the books and enjoy the pictures. I didn't read them. I just enjoyed the pictures. And I always had this, wouldn't it be nice to create a book like that sometime? And that stayed with me forever. And then suddenly the idea came, how do I do that? What am I going to do? And the idea was, well, why don't I travel to the end of all the London Underground tube lines?
Crazy.
Wow.
It just happened. I might have had a few to drink. Yes, I had a few to drink. And as the evening wore on, the idea grew. And by the end of the evening, the idea had actually nurtured into, this is what I was going to do. It didn't need the drink to make that happen. Yeah, the idea had bubbled. But just the evening just gave me the opportunity to actually share with people, this is what's going to happen. It was a magical evening for lots of reasons, but I was so excited to make that happen.
Well, it's not just a beautiful picture book; it's eloquently written. I mean, it's like educational too. I mean, I didn't know anything about the tube before I met you, Richard. That's for sure. And I was lucky enough to actually ride it my last trip. I was scared to death though, because I think you could get lost there for weeks before anybody could find you.
I have got lost on the tube in my early days of commuting. In fact, before we moved to London, on a hot summer's day, I was doing a lot of traveling around the UK, and I was working in London for a couple of weeks, I think. It was so hot, and I'd been traveling. I think I was traveling back into London, then back out again. I just got so lost. And there's part of the Northern Line that there's one part, if you don't know where you're going, I just walked off one platform, thinking I knew where I was going, and I just ended back up on the same platform, going back in the direction I just traveled from. And I thought, I just need to stop, sit down for 5 minutes, take stock of where I am.
Sometimes you got to go up and get some air.
Yeah. This is crazy. Do you know, the one thing I've complained to Underground a few times about this, if you listen, there are announcements on the Underground saying the next train for wherever, go to platform number so-and-so. Next time you're in London, I dare you to find an Underground platform with a number on it. There aren't any numbered platforms in the Underground. Never mind that they give you a numbered platform on the announcements. They ain't there.
Well, when I went on the tube,
they make more money that way, right?
So funny. So, how long did it take you to put the book together? And Brian, you just cut me off.
I do that anyway.
I know.
So no worries.
Like I'm like,
I think 6 months from the first conversation with Michael Heppel to having the first draft hard copy in my hands. It came together during lockdown, like many of us, I think, who wrote our first book. He started off, I think it might have been Michael's second Write That Book pop-up. I saw something on either Twitter or LinkedIn, and I dropped Michael an email. And within half an hour, he rang me. That's the kind of guy that Michael is.
Mm-hmm.
And 5-minute conversation, I was already signed up because he explained to me what writing a book was about.
Mm-hmm.
Once I'd realized it's a process, then a difficult process. Let's not pretend otherwise.
Right.
But it is a process. You do one thing at a time. Then I can follow that because I'm a process-driven individual. That's my life has been about processes. I could understand that, and I could think, and I could appreciate. All right, you do one thing, it has a knock-on effect. It might spin off in a few places, and you can follow that. Well, I could anyway.
Mm.
But
now is 6 months from the time you decided to compile your information, or did you compile during that 6-month period?
No, I'd been compiling prior to the 6 months because as I was. So what I was doing prior to writing the book, and as part, from the start of my retirement, I would go out to a end of the line.
Mm-hmm.
I would take my photographs, and then I would write a blog. So once a week, I'd go out, collect my pictures, decide which pictures I'd want to share, write my story, and then move on to the next one. So over a period of weeks and months, and a couple of years, I'd have my collection of blogs. So actually my blogs were the genesis of the stories that went into the book.
Well, you took away one of my questions, Richard. What came first, the blog or the book? So, which I think is a great story. I think a lot of people don't realize that they're already creating a book in some of your other creative pursuits. So,
but my intention wasn't to write. My intention was to create a picture book, a storybook. So having spoken to Michael, my intention was still just to create a picture book with some words that explain the picture, why I took the picture, which I had already put into my weekly blogs. So in my mind, I already had the material.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we were, as creators in Michael's Write That Book, we were put into an accountability group, so that there were small groups of us talking about what we were trying to do and how we would achieve and how we would support each other. Kellen was in my group, or I was in Kellen's group. We were in the same group. And the group encouraged me to write about the station I'd been to and the area I'd been to. And I have to admit, I resisted this because I'm not a writer. Even though in my professional career I had written, I never found writing easy. So that was my first uncomfortable zone. So I agreed to write a chapter to see what the response was like. And good or bad, the response was positive in the sense that the accountability group felt that it was good, in the sense of it added something to the picture. So that then fueled, okay, if it took me that long to write one chapter, how long is it going to take me to write however many more chapters? So I worked out how long I would have to write for to put the book together. So I did some analysis because I'm an analytical sort of person. And I worked out if I wanted to write a book in 6 months, how many words and how many pages I'd have to write each day during lockdown. So my wife still hasn't forgiven me. I took over the back bedroom, which has now become my office, and here I am. And she didn't see me from about 7 o'clock in the morning till about 8 o'clock in the evening.
So you treated it like a full-time job.
Yeah, I did. And I think that saw me through many periods of lockdown, but I ignored the downside of the impact on my wife and other family stuff as well. So as lockdown 1 became lockdown 2 and lockdown 3, I had to reconsider how I approached that and the time that I dedicated to doing that. It didn't change though when I started writing book 2.
At least she was more prepared emotionally.
You didn't call it return to the bedroom?
Uh,
So when you decided, you're very, very regimented. So you said, I need this many words a day. So this is how I'm going to complete it. So I know a lot of authors, when they're writing their books, they have their outline and it changes. So how many adjustments did you have to make as far as timing?
I think because I was quite the structure of the book became very structured. The chapters are very small in the sense of there's a picture, there's a chapter about the picture, there's a chapter about the area visited, and then there's a chapter about the collection of the stations, which are then grouped into lines of stations that are
Right.
collective stations. So that sort of designed the book, the layout of the book. So, for example, the central line, there are, let's say, 10 ends of the line in that. So that dictated how many chapters I wrote. So that sort of shaped the structure of the book as I went on. So I knew, so it wasn't, it's a non-fiction book. So unlike a story where I had to map out or design a storyline, it's very factual. It's very linear in that sense.
No, and I think even just reading the book gives you a map of the line itself, and so I think it's very functional as well. So
yeah, thank you. But for that, I have to applaud my designer, because I just put the words together and I just put the pictures with the words. And then I found this wonderful, fantastic designer, Jen Garside, who had created a number of, she's an illustrator, designer and illustrator, absolutely. She's done many children's illustrations. And I spoke to Jen and asked if she was interested in putting my book together. And I threw my work at her and said, look, here it is. This is what I visualized it could look like. And within a week, she'd mapped something out, and she just grasped the idea, the principle of what I was after. And although we had to change it many times, those changes were minor changes, because she pictured what I had in my mind, and she was able to convert that and design it into the book that you see now.
We had talked about that last week with Sarah, about the importance of picking an illustrator that can take your vision into, a physical product. And it's so important. And she is so, I keep saying we got to get her on the show, because she's done some amazing work. And I'm going to write a note so I don't forget.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think writing a book is all about writing, and there's so many other aspects to the design. And
absolutely, she's so talented.
Absolutely talented. And then you get the book done, and what do you do with it? Everybody thinks, oh, let's write a book. We forget about the real work is behind it, is after you write the book. And you went a different direction. We've talked to people who have self-published. We've talked to people who have, major publishing deals. But, I don't know that many people know about crowdfunding. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, book one, crowdfunding, yes. So you put the idea out there and you invite people in to donate, to pre-order. It's a way of pre-ordering a book, but it's a long-term pre-order. You place your trust, like you ask people to place their trust in you, in your idea. So it's a way of marketing your book, the vision, the idea. But before you go out crowdfunding, you need to build up your tribe, your followership, if you like, your fellowship. You need people to engage with, to anticipate what your book's going to be about, to garner their interest, who are likely to want to buy your book. So that when you do launch a crowdfunding site, so I guess crowdfunding is a bit like open begging. Well, it is. It says, here I am. Here's what I'm trying to do. I want your money. But in return, you get something. So the offer was, you give me some money, I give you a book. You give me a little bit more money, I give you something different. So in my case, I'm offering different degrees of, if you're in London and you want me to deliver your book, there's one price. If you're in Britain and you want a book and you want me to send it to you, here's another price. If you're in the US and you want me to send it to you, maybe there's a different price, Kellen.
Maybe I'll pay you.
Hey, I got an idea for you. I mean, maybe you can meet people at different stations, at different ends of the line. That'd be where, like, you buy 1,000 books, I'll meet you here.
But what I have tried unsuccessfully is invited people to come with me on a journey as an offering, just to see if anyone would be interested to experience what a day out with the end of the line looks like, and maybe to write the blog with me, and just to inspire them, to encourage their photography, to encourage their writing. So that's something I offer through my blog on an irregular basis during the year as well.
That's so cool.
My passion is photography, so I'm always out taking photographs.
Well, that is shows in your books, but you also took your book to the next level, offering they're not paintings. What are these called? They're canvases.
Yes. So after the first book, I love this. Ran a number of impressions of the book. I've just sold out my third impression of the book, which I'm really pleased with. I thought, what else can I do with my photographs? So I've launched a Photoshop. So I've selected 12 prints from my first book, which are available through a Photoshop, which, again, you can go through my bookshop. Hey, thank you.
Is this the most popular one?
Yes, it is.
I love this.
I also use that as my trademark, if you like.
I know, it came with my stickers.
Which also features in my second book. It closes my second book. I'm going to be closing that particular album in my bookshop soon, by way of promoting the photograph in my second book, just to try and keep some freshness going in my photo album. So the sold out on the first book actually went up beginning of this week, because somebody who bought my second book asked if I had any copies left of my first book, and I had one copy left. So that was quite a moment to say, yes, I've got one left, and here we go.
So was it harder to do it the second time than the first time?
Yes, it was, and it is. I put quite a high expectation on myself in what I was looking for on the crowdfund. Excuse me a second.
I'm going to show this again. It's so pretty.
The thing to remember is, when you're canvassing, encouraging people to pledge for your first book, you're probably doing a hard sell with families, close family and friends,
right,
who are doing it out of love, friendship, who might not be as friendly and family friendly for your second book. So trying to find new ways of marketing the book for... My voice is about to dry up, so forgive me. So finding new buyers for the second book is a different game altogether. So what I'm about to do, the crowdfund site closes on Tuesday morning. I'm about to start offering free copies of my book to those who feature in my book, as a way of garnering interest from their social media crowd. Excuse me. But I'm going to be doing that on a slow burner during the start of next year. Nice. Some hard sell leading up to Christmas, obviously, to offer some Christmas offerings, see how that goes, and then just gradually drift into different parts of London during the first quarter of next year. I'm also going to be approaching some fairly well-known influencers. Sorry, some influencers who helped me out with book one, who promoted my book on their website. So again, I'll be doing that during the first quarter of next year.
We learned like how to build our tribe with Michael. You drink, I'll talk. We learned how to
take a break. Kellen and I'll chat for a minute while you catch your voice.
How important it is to build, he called it a tribe. And like I've had huge success with my book because I found pug people. I found my pug tribe. And I think this book, one railroad nut finds out about this book. And my uncle, if he were alive today, he would, his life, he wouldn't even, he rarely flew on planes, because if he could get there by a train, he would get there. And when I was going through his stuff, I found a bunch of, like, you got, this little map you gave us in this thing. I mean, I found a ton of these maps because he was on every train in almost every country. But I mean, this would be such a great gift. I'm like, people, train people. This is definitely a great gift.
I think the crowdfunding is interesting too. Is one thing I see a lot of people do is they write their book, but they don't build out any type of pre-audience and so it can be very discouraging when you go through all this hard work and to have nobody there ready to buy your book. So the crowdfunding gives you a cheerleading squad before you even finish. It also is probably your ultimate accountability group, Richard, right? When you're sitting on somebody else's dollar. So it kind of wakes you up. So I think the crowdfunding path is great. I've heard of a few people. In fact, my dad has done it with one of his books, and I think it creates a community around your book in a way that maybe you won't have otherwise. So I highly encourage it for people who are getting started. I think it's like some people might say, like you said, it's professional begging, but really it's a positive for the process. It's not.
Well, yeah, I say professional begging with a smile on my face. It's legitimate.
Right. I wouldn't even call it fundraising. I mean, this is an amazing product, and it's just a professional way to back it and get it out there to the masses.
What I'm delighted with, I set myself a high expectation with book two. I've achieved 25% of what I was after, and to me, that is way more than I really expected. So I take that as a firm positive. It's allowed me to get the head of books that I wouldn't have otherwise have been able to get. So I've now got the books with me. It's how I now go about marketing those books.
Right.
So I've got the books. I just need to go out and market them now.
Yeah, and I think a book like yours is well positioned for crowdfunding as well, because you're not going to want to put this up on regular print on demand type scenario. Right. I think you're looking for something high quality, and there's going to be some upfront costs with that process. So I think for those out there that are trying to put together something like Richard, you might, this is probably a better path anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The company I use to print the book, they've just introduced a print-on-demand service.
Oh, wow. That's great.
That was my first reaction until I looked at the pricing strategy for my kind of book. Just didn't work for me.
And I imagine quality could be an issue with a print-on-demand. Like, a journal or something like that. Like sometimes, like one time I ordered a journal from a friend who had published it on Amazon, and half of it was his journal and half of it were math problems for third graders. So there's a legit concern when you're doing that print on demand thing, especially with such a high volume printer.
Yeah, quality was key and paramount in what I was looking for, and that was my choice when I went for the printing company. I had to look at 2 or 3 companies initially.
Were these
the company I chose came out tops on quality, and other authors who've chosen the same company have said the same, not only on quality but on customer service as well.
Now, was this a publisher book printer type company, or did they print all kinds of things? Or
they print all kinds of things.
Okay.
But even when things have gone wrong, their customer service has been instant and has been positive as well.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, so I call it, and it's not like a book where you sit, and like a self-help book where you'll sit and read it regularly or I call this my pick up when I want something fun to look at book. Like I'll just, and you don't have to read it. I don't read, you don't have to read it in order. And normally I go front to back, but this one I just like, I'll open up to a picture and then I just sit back and I feel like I'm there with you. It's really amazing. I mean, the writing, even though you say you're not a writer, you are.
Well, book 2 it follows exactly the same model. What I've done with book 2 is I've traveled London, but at this time I've traveled along the main rail network rather than the underground. So I've gone to the ends of the London main rail network, done exactly the same thing, got off the train, walked around, taken pictures. But I've done it from the main rail network perspective rather than the underground perspective.
Nice.
So the storyline was already laid out for me. It's just a different set of train lines that I've traveled on.
Maybe you can get them to sponsor you on the crowdfunding. I mean, it should be nothing for them, right? Send them a note.
Too many conversations with them about licensing.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of that's one of the things you can talk about that like you weren't expecting, like some snafu that came up that you're like, oh dang, how am I going to deal with this? Because we like to give our audience like let them know things that maybe learn from our mistakes or things that we weren't prepared for.
Well, I learned from book 1 that there's one company that looks after all the underground, and that's Transport for London. Is that retrospectively, when I went talking to Transport for London, I wanted to use their map to put in my book because I thought that would be a great addition for the book. And they wanted to charge me a price for doing that, and I thought, well, I really don't want to do that. This is a self-funding thing, and that would cost me too much. And as part of that conversation, they said, by the way, can we see your pictures? Because if you've got any that you've taken of our stations, you haven't got our permission.
Oh, boy.
So then we got into a long conversation about whether I had been licensed or not. So I explained, look, I was taking pictures not knowing whether I was going to publish them or not. Long story short, there were 6 pictures that they wanted to charge me to include. Wow. So I decided to change those 6 pictures so I didn't have to pay. But the lesson there was, if I'm taking pictures on their stations, then I need their permission. The irony of it is, if I go along with my mobile camera, I'm okay. But then if I want to convert that picture into cash, then I'm not okay. The thing I didn't do and I didn't learn is I didn't do the same thing with the train companies. There are 13 train companies as opposed to one underground company. And when I retrospectively dealt with the train companies, some of them said, yeah, fine, okay, no problem. Others said, yeah, maybe you should have talked to us beforehand, but we'll give you permission to print them anyway. Oh. But I would have, again, changed the pictures. I was mindful of this when I was taking the pictures and maybe selecting the picture I wanted to use. But knew in the back of my mind, maybe I should have been a little bit more circumspect in how I was dealing things. But that's a story across London. Wherever you might be standing, taking a photograph. I've often found I've been challenged by maybe a building manager or a security guard come out and challenge me for taking a photograph. in a place where you wouldn't think I would have been challenged. I was standing outside the O2. Sorry, Brian, if you're familiar with London architecture, the O2 is a large entertainment centre.
Okay.
Where it's open to the public, but the ground apparently that it sits on is private land. Not that it's publicised. So I was taking some pictures with my camera, and a security guard walks up and says, "What are you doing?" Rather obvious. I got my camera. I said, "I'm taking pictures." And she says, do you have a license? I said, "Do I need one?" "Well, you're a professional." I says, "No, I'm not." She says, "Yes, you are. You've got a professional camera." I says, "I'm not a professional. This isn't a professional camera. You've got a professional camera." So the conversation went on backwards. "How do I get a license?" She went away, came back 5 minutes later. She says, "Oh, you're okay. You can take the pictures."
Oh my gosh.
Help me understand what's going on here. And as part of that conversation, I said, "Well, excuse me, because this is a public area and very, very busy in a touristy area. You've got hundreds, if not thousands, of people walking around with their mobile phone taking pictures. Why aren't you challenging every one of those?" "Because they're not professionals." Like, excuse me, the pictures they're taking on their mobile phones are probably better quality than the picture I'm taking on my professional camera. We agreed to leave the conversation there because it wasn't going to go anywhere. But there's a story there that just isn't going to get answered.
No, that's gold. I mean, I think anytime you move into a commercial endeavor, everybody wants their money, I guess.
We could probably do a whole show on collateral ownership, He's
another one from a different perspective. I'll keep it brief. I was lining up a photograph. Not that I wanted to take the picture. I just wanted to see what it would look like in my viewfinder. And I knew there was a security guard or a concierge standing about 10 yards away from me. And I knew he was looking at me. And I knew that I was standing on private property. So I walked onto the boundary, and I knew he was going to come over to me. So we had the conversation. And I said, "I know what you're going to say. I can't take this picture because I'm standing on your property." He said, "That's right." So what did I do? I walked back a step, lined up my camera, looked at him and says, "I can take the picture now, can't I?" "Yes," he says.
That's so
Come on. It's nonsense, absolute nonsense. Yeah. So sometimes you play the game and have a bit of fun.
So the second book, were you just super uber careful about where you took pictures, what you took pictures of, or
no?
Somebody's not going to come confiscate my book, are they?
No, what I did with book 2, I did with book 1. I wrote to all the people on all the buildings or premises. I just asked their permission and said, "Look, I'm going to publish this picture." Where I felt I didn't need their permission, I just said, "Look, I don't think I need your permission, but I'd just like you to know, if you don't want me to, I won't."
Courtesy thing.
And it was courtesy. And I said, "Look, I'd like you to reply within 2 or 3 weeks. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to anyway." And where they didn't, I just did. It was a courtesy thing.
Did they get back to you? Did everybody get back to you?
Some of them did, and that's fine. And where they didn't get back to me, as I said in my letter, I just went ahead with it.
Yeah. Kind of covered your butt.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good. I actually personally just wrote in my newsletter this morning about music licensing, and I think I'm going to send everybody a link to this right away and say, "Here's some other licensing concerns you may have." And
because when you took the picture, you probably didn't know you were going to write a book. It's some of the photos, correct?
Yeah.
I said,
some photos, because when I'm out, I was out this week on Tuesday. I took 235 photographs. It's only when I review the photographs I decide which picture I want to promote. But sometimes when I'm out, I will see the photograph and I know that will be the picture that I would include in a future book because it just stands out to me. So it depends on the moment. If that's the picture, then I might start researching, well, who do I need to be talking to about that picture? I tend to shy away from taking pictures of people because of the licensing of the needs of the rights of the individual.
And witness protection.
Yeah. But if I do, then it's done on a very friendly and on a very casual basis. So if I do see an individual, I'll take the picture after maybe a 5 or a 10-minute conversation, rather than, oh, I'd like to take a picture and then I'm in, I'm out. It'll be, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Let's and build up a relationship, even though through a quick 5 or 10-minute conversation. Because sometimes you get them more natural then, rather than, oh, I like what you're wearing. Can I take a picture? Oh,
right.
You know, you build up a barrier instantly, rather than you want them on a one-to-one on a friendly and engaged basis.
Yeah.
I mean, you're training us on all fronts here. I mean, how to, yeah. I mean, this is like a Dale Carnegie book today, how to win friends and influence and all of that.
Where do I send my invoice?
And cover your butt.
Unfortunately, Richard, Kellen and I are, got a lot of past due invoices.
From every guest.
Every guest we owe money to. I don't know how it works out that way.
We joked last week about this really isn't a show. We're just picking your brain to get free information.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've built up about at least $50,000 in services here on the show. So.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, we asked the difficult question. Why don't you ask I let Brian, because I talk so much, I let Brian do the big question.
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, I mean, you gave about 10 answers that would fit this already. So you might have to go to the well, but for a new author, what would you, if you were to do something different, what would you recommend to them along the way of writing a book?
Do what's in your heart. Do what you believe in. Take advice, take some guidance, but you know what you want to do. Do it. JFDI.
Love it.
Wow.
Listen for the reason to do it, not for the reasons not to do it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Because we come up with a lot of reasons not to do things that we really want to do. So
I think I can't remember the name of the clip that Michael keeps on showing. And his name escapes me, but I'm always reminded of a chap who keeps on saying, when you talk to somebody, you can always say that you've done it rather than reasons why you haven't done it.
Yes.
I wrote that book rather than reasons why I didn't write that book.
Or I could have wrote that book. I could have wrote that book. I could have.
I did write that book. In fact, I wrote 2 books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful books.
That makes me
so much. I thank you for writing those books.
Thank you.
Wow. Thanks, Richard. This has been such a wonderful, wonderful way to meet you. I know Kellen and you've already met, but this is my first time spending any time with you, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you joining us today.
And I know that do you have family visiting, or that you're hiding in a room right now? They allowed you to come talk to us for an hour.
No, we had to cancel our weekend away because my wife isn't too well.
Oh, I'm sorry. But I still appreciate her giving us some of your time, because I know that she gave up a lot of your time for those books. So, well, we're gonna put you in the green room. We're gonna do our little recap, and then we will see you back in the green room.
Okie doke.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. This is Richard. This is for Richard.
Here.
Yep. He's so amazing. I mean, he's so humble for the magnitude of the beauty of his books. And so I know. I'm a Richard fan. I really am.
I'm all in. I mean, we should just, call this entire series "Friends of Kellen from Over the Pond." We just
I
need to
am
rename it.
blessed. I have been blessed by meeting a lot of really amazing people. So my takeaways, again, you talked about the importance of design and trusting your designer to create the vision that you have. The big thing was accountability. I forget to talk about our accountability groups, and that really helps a lot of people get that book across the finish line, which I think is what you are. You are that accountability person. Getting out of your comfort zone, that was huge. And ownership of your collateral. Those were the big takeaways I got this week.
No, those are all wonderful, and I am going to be writing a book about Richard's tips at the end of this. So, but my takeaway is actually his last thing he said, which was, listen to your heart. At the end of the day, this is not a technical thing; it's a heart thing,
Right.
and so, you have something inside of you that you want to get out, you want to share. We all have some unique view on the world, whether it's through writing, through pictures, through our interests, and so. And I think that's why this is so much fun to be a part of it, is because everybody has something special to share, and the world needs it. So
exactly, and we are helping the author world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's our goal. So he said that the crowdfunding for this book 2 ends on Tuesday. Somehow,
Yep.
I think we need to put that link,
Yeah,
his crowdfunding link, in our chat in case anybody wants to.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat, but there it is at the bottom, crowdfunder.co.uk/return end of the line. I'm sure you can find that. Actually, if you go to the endoftheline.blog, you'll be able to find it there as well. But or shoot Kellen and I a note and we'll get you there. So
yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. We will get them to Richard. Thanks for watching today. Please remember to let us know where you're watching from, and any questions, shoot them our way. I guess we'll see you. Next week we have Will Polston, who is another well, actually, he's not the last of our British series because I extended it to December 2nd. And Ashley, who's in the comments here, he's going to be our guest on the 2nd, so that's going to be exciting. And then we have, I don't know, that's as far as I got right now. I can't read my writing. But I got you through December 2nd, okay?
To be announced next week. So, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.